أعوذ بالله من الشيطان
So this is a Silla Historic Hub. I'm the host, Ali Silla, and today we're having a focus group discussion on the history of Islam, the formation of Islam in Liberia, the contribution of Islam in Liberia, and member organizations of the Muslim Council in Liberia. So today I'm interacting with a lot of young people who are involved in the Muslim activities in Liberia. So just like for people to go around making just quick a safe introduction, just call your name and then we'll take it from there.
All right, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm Gofin Sumauro, member of Limia.
So I'm Ibrahim Dole. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
I'm Zena Emba.
I'm Ishmael A.V. Salih. I'm Fatma Dara Kamara from Limia.
Ibrahim K. Zokai. I'm Adama A. Kamara.
Okay. So thank you everybody for a self-introduction. So as I said, we from the Silla Historic Hub, and we'll be looking at Islam in Liberia and the contribution. So this is just an open discussion. Just anybody can say anything about Islam in Liberia. What's your knowledge of Islam in Liberia, and how you think that we can forge ahead with Islam in Liberia? So it's an open discussion. So anybody.
Thank you so much. You know, Islam in Liberia, as we know, can be dated as far back as before the coming of the settlers. When we had traditional leaders who were ruling different regions in our country. And one of the famous of those traditional leaders, who was a Muslim, can be referred to as King Boso Kamara. So King Boso Kamara, who was a Muslim and a Mandingo by tribe, played a very significant role with respect to the formation of Liberia. We are told in history that before the foundation of Liberia, we had chiefs that were ruling in this country, and they were so powerful to the extent that depending on your territorial the territory that you are covering, your power is measured by your territory that you are occupying. And so King Boso happens to be one of those occupying one of the largest territories. And so he was very powerful and he used to be feared. And so when the settlers came, and we were told that they were resisted by some of the other chiefs who saw them as a threat and did not want to incorporate them. And so King Boso had to intervene and even threaten his colleagues that if you cannot allow these people to come after you have taken their money, we'll go into battle and we'll cut one another throat. And because they were afraid of him, you know, they decided to allow the settlers to settle in Liberia. And that gave rise to what we call the formation of Liberia, because there were those settlers that started to talk about Western education, the formation of Liberia, and they decided to talk about independence. And so we saw the coming into being of a country called Liberia. So Islam, you know, to a certain extent, has been a very significant contributor to the formation of our country, Liberia. So thank you so much. Maybe I will have to stop here to give other people a chance to talk.
All right.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Once again, I'm Gofin Sumauro. Talking about Islam in Liberia, first of all, I want to make this clear, right? Liberia, firstly, was established or was dominated by Muslim and traditional people. Because looking at the history of Christianity in Liberia, it was a panel that brought Christianity to Liberia. And before the coming of the panel, the free slave, King Boso was here. Was a Mandingo man, he was a Muslim. Because looking at history, those that brought Islam into Liberia were the Madinkas, and Kizaboso Kamara was a Madingo man, and other few tribes from other part of Africa. And Kizaboso Kamara were here before the coming of the free slaves. Thank you.
All right, my name is Fatma Dara Kamara. I just wanted to buttress the previous speaker. You see, in Liberia, Islam has been marginalized massively, in the sense that if you check the history of Liberia, Islam or say Muslim have been supported and fought for Liberia independence. But today in our country, you see, even for a vice presidency, you will not see Islam men to say I'm a vice president. But people might say Islam is not from Liberia, Islam is not from Liberia. So I want to ask the Muslim community, what will be your thought or your point that Islam will resonate in Liberia? That even if I become somebody tomorrow in this country, I will say I'm fighting for vice president. People will not say Fatima Dara Kamara, you are a Muslim girl. Again, for our study position in the country, many times we have been marginalized. It's not right, and you know that Islam have fought for Liberia, and we deserve our right in this country. So to call it short, and Fatima Dara Kamara, that is all I'm doing.
Alhamdulillah. Assalatu wassalam ala Rasulullah Muhammad ibn Abdullah wa ala alihim wa ashabihi wa man tabi'ahu bil ihsan ila yawmiddin. I want to begin by establishing a great gratitude to the ambassador for this initiative. I must say it is quite of Islam. We're not going to go back now to the historicity of Islam in Liberia because I think it has been discussed succinctly. The president of NAMSA talked about it, the brother talked about it. But there are just few contradictions I want to speak to when it comes to Islam in Liberia. You will agree with me when we're discussing Islam in Liberia, one tribe that comes to our mind is Mandingo. Because the fact that has changed to be corrected, but history tells us that the first group of Muslims that came to Liberia were Mandingo. And it is true, those people that Islam spread out, and we have many other tribes are joining Islam today. And at least later day Liberians are understanding that Islam is not about Mandingo, it's not about tribe, but rather Islam is a religion. I will agree with other comrades like they say, Islam has played a very significant role, not just in the foundation of Liberia, but maintaining Liberia as a country. When we discuss the significant role Islam has played in Liberia, it is important that we recognize figure. I've observed among ourselves that we are not proud of Islam. I must say I lead a very large segment of young Muslims in Liberia. When we count institutions that have Muslims beside those high schools, we will talk about, beside the national Muslim students, right? We're talking about academic institutions that have vast majority of young Muslims will be discussed in the University of Liberia. And I'm privileged to be the president of the Muslim students at the University of Liberia. So our interactions with the young Muslims is not encouraging. We've witnessed that Muslims, young people, don't even want to align with Islam. They don't want to be identified as Muslims. And until we can understand that Islam is a religion of dignity, it's a religion of mutual respect, and that we must be proud of it, I believe it will hinder our growth as Muslims. I agreed. We have made such significant prospect as Muslim in this country, but like the sister said, we are not taking on big positions in Liberia. Yeah, we have two forces that we are confronting as Muslims in Liberia. And the first is internal forces among ourselves as Muslims. We are not doing much as we should to promote each other as Muslims. That's one thing. And another one is the external forces, which for me I see as a minor one, that is our religious counterpart. But like in our common adage in Liberia, they say, "The whom doesn't sell you, the street wouldn't buy you." So the reasons why Islam is the way it is in Liberia, I think, is because we as Muslims have not played our role as Muslims. So my perspective of how I think we can forge forward and why I think Islam has not grown much is because we have not loved ourselves much as Muslims. So for the sake of the conversation, we have a lot of experiences, we have perspectives on how we think we can move forward. But for the sake of this short dialogue, I will take this shot right here and we'll turn the microphone over to the next speaker. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So my name is Ibrahim K. Zokai, and it's good to be part of this dialogue. Let me say thanks to the previous speaker and also thanks to the ambassador for affording us the opportunity to share our ideas as it relates to the formation of Islam in Liberia and some of the contributions it has made to the growth, development, and transformation of our country. So as the previous speakers said, the formation of Islam in Liberia can be dated far back as even prior to the coming of the settlers. And one may recall that history tells us that before the coming of those that were considered as the free slaves from the United States of America, even Liberia or Muslims at that time were in Liberia. So if other religious groups came into formation after the coming of the settlers, that means Islam was here because those that accepted the settlers were Muslims. So aside from that, Islam has also contributed immensely to the peace of our country. And they've been contributing to the developmental aspect of the country, infrastructure development. They've been very contributive and in showing that our country is on the right trajectory when it comes to peace, development, unity, transformation. You can count the Muslims for that. So thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh once again. My name is Adama A. Kamara, and I would like to add up to what my brothers and comrade just said about Islam. For me, I will just say a few words about this issue. You know, one of the things that really affecting us in this country, you see, Islam is not going forward. The main problem is from our leaders. The main problem is from our leaders because you see, Islam in Liberia today, we can say Alhamdulillah. We can say Alhamdulillah in which content? We observed that yesterday we wasn't having certain right. But today, we can say, thank God we have that right today, right? Okay, and we observe again that our brothers, or let me say our fathers, they are not really understanding one another. They're conflicting among themselves, which of course making others to make mockery out of us. When the other person say, oh, the Eid al-Adha will be today, the other leaders to come again and say, oh, it is tomorrow. So you see, if the other people to be watching something like that, they will just be thinking like we are not really serious in what we're doing. And Islam is not for us. Islam is for Allah. And He said it in the Quran, فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا وَلَنْ تَفْعَلُوا. If we cannot do it now, and we shall never be able to do it. So, in a STEM, we need to work on ourselves. We need to work on ourselves as Muslims. We need to implement the duty as Islam, not in our own will, but Allah will and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam will. Wassalamu alaikum.
Let me ask a question though. You want to say something?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I want to say something brief, maybe for just 1 minute. For me, my belief is the only way Islam will grow in Liberia is for all of us to support each other and value each other. Because once you value your own, other people will value the person. But if you decide to like let go of your own, say let me move for you, other people will treat all of us the same. So it's better we hold hands, value each other, support each other, then other people will support us and believe in us. Let it go election. You see, like our Muslims brother came, he was contesting for presidency, right? Other people were condemning him, criticizing him. Do you know why? The reason is simple, because even with the Muslims, you will see other people will be on the other side, they will be supporting another person. If somebody is contesting for our own, we the Muslims, we all put hands together, we support the person. Let's see now if they go Tata, let's see what will becomes of the other people. You will see they'll call for a round table, everybody will come, we all will agree. Vice President this, secretary this, the other one this, representative this. Everybody will decide. But once we the Muslims in this country, we are not yet ready to support each other and help each other, wallahi, we are going nowhere. Stop here.
All right, thank you. I wanted to pick your brain a little bit. Why is it that if you from Painsbury Red Light all the way to Sanukule, why is it that you have mosques all on the main road? Okay? If people say to you that Islam just came to Liberia, then you need to ask the question, why is it that from Painsbury Red Light, from Magibi Kakata, you see the mosque all on the main road going from Bungodima, from Wiala, from Batala, from Swakoko, to Banga, to Bela, to Ganta, all along. Then if you come on this side, from Vatan, all the way to Sierra Leone Road, you see masjid all on the road. So why you think is that? Why you guys think is that?
Yeah. So, Ambassador, for me, most of the time, I don't give credence to people who say Islam just came to Liberia, because I think it is as a result of their limit in education. They are not educated enough to read and understand that if we must discuss religion, because in Liberia, dominantly, the two religions we have is Islam and Christianity. And the first of it the first religion to have been established here was Islam. And so the reasons why we see mosques in almost all of the area, and in fact, when you go deep down in some of these towns that you're calling, you see that we have some of the oldest buildings, and those buildings are mosques. It is because the foundation of this nation was actually on the basis of Islam. And you know, and they are
Any other person want to respond to that?
Yeah.
Just maybe in 1 minute. Yeah.
Yes, of course. It's just simple that you are seeing mosques all along these places. It just tells you that Islam is rapidly growing in Liberia. Yes, Islam is rapidly growing in Liberia, and Islam is becoming a traditional religion in Liberia. And so as a result of that, you are seeing mosques all around these places, not because people are just building these mosques to have a semblance of Islam, but you actually go to these places, you see people praying in those masjids. You see people praying there. So it tells you that Islam is rapidly growing in Liberia, and on the other hand, the misrepresentation of the figure or the percentage of Islam is very wrong.
So what went wrong though? What went wrong what went wrong in the recognition of Islam in Liberia? What really went wrong? I think from your own
let me say something.
Yeah.
Let me say something about that. It was as a result of the fear of our people about this Western education, because I can remember at a certain point in time when my father and I was talking, he said he went to school very late because his father felt that by going to school, he would automatically change to Christianity. So because of that fear, he could not go to school soon. And if you are not educated, quote unquote, with the Western education, you are not befitting to sit around the table And so Muslims were not around the table when they were discussing the formation of Liberia. That is the reason for which I think Muslims are not seen as one of those religion, one of those people that should be permanent, owner or citizen of this country.
Okay. So anybody?
So I just want to add a bit to this. Historically, after the pioneers came to Liberia, and we had those missionaries come in building churches and schools because they came with all the money. The Muslims that were here at that time, they were had that much money to erect those structures. So when those structures were erected, and they started to ask people to send their children to school, and our people feel that these people are not like us, and sending our children to their schools will definitely get them indoctrinated to their beliefs. So when the others were going to school, for us, our people were still around the fire hut reciting Quran, which is not bad. So after the realization that there was a need for their own to go to school, those people that went to school years back were also already in government serving because they were already schooled. And for the fact that they were schooled and they've been serving for years, so now before you have more people serving the country that are Muslims, the score is going to be very wide because you have those people that have been serving for years. And now we have just started getting involved with educational activities, competitions, and other things. So I think this has contributed immensely to this issue of less representation of Muslims in government.
So the other question is, this is Moserado, right? This is Moserado. And if you look at Moserado right now, we said Islam was here before the formation of the Republic, but we don't see recognition of Muslim leaders on street names. Okay? Beside Kinsa Boso Street, which is Front Street. Now, even I remember there was a huge debate in the 70s about Kinsa Boso. Matter of fact, this is Madishi compound. He said that on this side of Front Street will remain Front Street, on that side will remain Kinsa Boso Street. Because his involvement. But if you look at Moserado, the Republic of Liberia is so centralized. Everything is centralized. I think it's because of that the Muslims were in the hinterland. They were pushed back. When we were little around here, there were curfew in Moserado. By 6 o'clock, if you come from across the bridge, you have to go and leave Monrovia. And Monrovia was so tiny. So there is no masjid. The first masjid that was here was 1953. It doesn't mean that Muslims were not here. It just tells you that in Monrovia, the first recognized masjid that was built was 1953. That's quite recently. Boso was here before the formation of the Republic. But 1953, we had the Benson Street Mosque. After that, 1963, we have the Randa Street Mosque in the corner there. And then before Salafia. So there were only 3 masjid here, and now Nipo Street Mosque was just opened in 1990. And there were only 7 Juma mosques in Monrovia, 1990. So it just speaks volume that what you're talking about in terms of marginalizations of the Muslim, it just speaks volume. It didn't say that Muslims were not here, that Muslims were not praying, but in terms of structure, organization structure, there were only 7 Juma mosques in Monrovia. And there were small masjid like in Jalabaya, like there's a masjid in Johnson Street. The former Madingo governor called Nonkon Sharif. In Yazia, there was a small mosque there. He even had a school there. I think there's a school stay there. Or maybe the school breakdown. It's not there anymore. So those were the little things that were happening. But I just want to thank all of you, man. I think your perspective is actually very important. This topic is so big, it's so buggy, but your perspective is so important. So I want to thank all of y'all. I know we can't be here all day. We just want to do like a 10-minute video, but we're going to edit it. I know it's going to be hard, but we have to edit. We have to edit it, and then we'll share with you guys. So your perspective, your experiences, I think it's good. So I think your job now is to tell more young people about what is happening, So at least we can lift the authentic, not the mythical understanding of Islam, the more authentic historical facts about Islam in Liberia. So I'm the host, Ali Sila.
So
This is Sila.
before you close, can I just say something?
Sure, go ahead.
You know, I think there is this adage that if the lion cannot until the lion can make its way to the town, the story of the hunter will always be accepted by the villagers.
Right.
We have to tell our story, and our story has to be told in a way that we teach them in our various schools. I think Islam, we are not seeing our role in this country. And I want to agree with you when you say marginalization of one of the reasons why we never had some of our name places, our traditional leaders' name placed on some of the streets. And even to give us permission to even build this masjid, it was lately. And I think, you know, it has to take some of our people to fight with these people, argue with them bitterly before we can have some of these spaces to at least have a prince, you know, sat there. So these are things that we have to have conversation about, not only once, not twice, but I think it should be a continuous process. Probably we could do this at the national level where we can bring young people together to talk about Islam in Liberia. It shouldn't be Muslims. I think we should also incorporate non-Muslims so that they can understand the role of Islam in this country. It shouldn't be Muslim against Liberians. It should be, you know, an involved situation where everybody will have, you know, a piece of the iceberg. That everybody get to understand what Islam is. Islam is not against anybody, but we got to understand what Islam is and how we can work together as a country to move forward.
Well, thank you very much. All right, thank you, man.